Hi, welcome back to Serger Tip Clips. In the previous tip clip, I showed you how we shortened and reshaped the hem on the ready-to-wear jersey. Now it's on to the sleeves. The sleeves were way too long and they did not have ribbing on the wrist. So I want to show you my little suggestion for shortening sleeves, but also tapering them as well so that you have a really nice custom fit and they're nice and neat and tidy. So you can see that the second part of this technique, tapering in that side seam on the sleeve, is really key to getting a beautiful finished look on your garment. Now, it has another advantage as well. When you're cover stitching a narrow little cuff, if you have a free arm on your machine, I found that with a lot of women's garments, that even with a free arm, when you're stitching in the round, it tends to stretch the circumference around the wrist, and that I don't like. And the other nice thing is that when you're opening up that long seam on the sleeve, you're stitching flat. It makes it super easy, super fast, and you get a great looking result. Here's our sleeve. And I'm not going to bore you with fusing the web onto the hem, but this has already been measured to the correct length, and I've used the 1-inch fusible web to this, and I've turned it up. But the other thing that I've done is I have opened up the long sleeve seam as well, and that's to allow us to taper it. And I didn't bother taking the time to pick out the overlock stitches that the manufacturer had made. I know I've got plenty of width, so I just took my rotary cutter and cut it right off. Very quick and easy. The hem is all stitched in, and here's my mark for where I want to taper the sleeve to. So I've switched my machine over to a 3-thread overlock, and what I'm going to do is really start in a way. So you can see I've opened up quite a bit of the sleeve, and I'll even start a little above where the clip begins, just to taper it smoothly. So I'm going to go to the machine. I'll use the narrow cover stitch. I'm keeping those same settings that I used for the hem. 1.3 for my differential feed, just a tick above 3 for the stitch length, and I'm going to stitch that. As I said, I'm set up for a 3-thread narrow stitch. I've got my pins in my sleeve, and if you notice, I've got them over to the left farther than you typically would for on your sewing machine. And that's because I don't want them in the way of the foot, the knife, or definitely not the loopers. And I've got the foot up, and I've got the needle up because I want to align the needle exactly with the original needle stitching line on the that the manufacturer put in. So I'm just going to get that positioned under the foot and start stitching along. This is one of my favorite little serger tools. It's a double-eyed needle, and I use this all the time to bury thread tails. So let me just show you how that works. The little rounded edge on it prevents clipping the threads as you're threading it under. Now you can go under the stitching itself, or if you want to go between the layers, it doesn't matter. I'm just going under the threads themselves or under the stitching. I'm just pulling that through. And because it's on the sleeve, I like to give it a little extra snug tug so that you don't see it at all from the outside. So here we are, we're all done, and I'll clip that off in just a minute. But here's the before and the after. And you can see how much more beautiful this finished edge is compared to this one. So I'll do the second one, and it'll be all set to wear. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you again next week for another Serger tip clip. Until then, happy sewing and serging.